What if I told you that the romantic relationship between Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin, which has been praised on social media as the stuff of dreams, is actually a rotten mess? No, on a spiritual and emotional level, it's absolutely musty, not simply fishy. Nothing could be cleaned with bleach when Jim tore off the bandage from a 10-year love wound. Not even the VH1 producers anticipated this. Jim went nuclear after speaking up, and what he's exposing is the type of messy heartbreak that makes hip-hop and love so powerful. We're discussing dubious recordings, perverted loyalty games, guilt trips, and a relationship so poisonous that Instagram even tried to mark the information as emotionally upsetting. Now, the issue is, was Chrissy ever really in love? Or was this whole thing a long-running fraud involving red bottoms and Chanel pearls? Why did Jim describe her love as deliberate, suffocating, and steely? More significantly, what proof does he have for making this progress? Is a public emotional crime scene rather than just a horrible divorce? Simply exposed all of the naughty details of Chrissy's painstakingly crafted narrative. This cannot be fixed by a single press release. Let's start at the top. When Jim and Chrissy initially came on our screens, they fooled everyone by planning extravagant trips, putting expensive rings on people's hands, and making hip-hop love look real. Jim is now openly accusing everyone of lying, acting, and setting up a planned trap disguised as Chrissy positioned herself for years as the ultimate ride-or-die lady, standing by Jim through street fights, labeled conflicts, and that embarrassing proposal rejection that is immortalized in VH1 reruns. Jim, however, asserts that, behind the scenes, she was containing him in what insiders are calling a leaking emotional breakdown that was transmitted to his inner circle rather than keeping him down. Jim acknowledges that the love was confined, domineering, and never liberating. He is now admitting that he was grounded in the most terrible way imaginable. This is the same person who gave us We Fly High. According to him, their whole affair was predicated on emotional coercion, mental games, and conditional love. Jim stated all of it in a secret deposition related to a different action involving VH1, which is accurate and under oath. The court stenographer had to call a break in court because Jim was dropping so many emotional bombs. The surprise is that Chrissy apparently kept a comprehensive relationship ledger, a spreadsheet that tracked every penny she had spent on haircuts, grills, gym flights, clothing, bail money, and even teeth whitening trays. She apparently used the spreadsheet as a weapon when fighting. According to the official, Chrissy once said, 82 on 311 by 47. I'm not going anywhere. This isn't love. When Jim requested space, Chrissy's voice was characterized as worn out but at last free. She reportedly shopped around 2-3 networks. But guess what? The documentary series is titled, This is a Beauty Influencer Running a Hostage Negotiation with Excel and Lipstick. Jim Jones was not looped in by her. In response to an executive's question, is Jim attached to this project? Chrissy reportedly said, no, but that's my version of events, and that's exactly when the contract fell through. However, this isn't the end of the disaster. What follows wasn't just shade. And this is when the distinction between open sabotage and public scandal begins to blur. Cameron's arrival, as if summoned by karma herself, caused a tremor in the courtroom. He was coldly precise, without the showbiz strut or PR smile. And there was a ton of proof in a file folder designated confidential C+J when prosecutors opened the case. One courtroom employee likened Cameron's arrival to the calm before a legal cyclone, stating that he wasn't there to offer assistance but rather to settle old scores and present receipts. When the first page of a high-resolution bank scan appeared, it was not in Jim's or even Chrissy's name, and everyone froze. It was formerly linked to Chrissy's previous beauty company and read Christina Santiago, with the same birth date and location. Nevertheless, there were odd transactions associated with the Cayman Islands account. $25,000, $50,000, and occasionally $80,000. All of which were identified as consulting services for a television company that isn't even mentioned in any official documents. A juror requested a break on the 4th page. But Cam was already warmed up and revealed another shocking detail: an invoice trail linked to the women's empowerment organization, Chrissy. Cam's legal team disclosed startling details regarding over $190,000 in donor cash that were purportedly misappropriated to private businesses connected to Chrissy's own brand during her purported comeback period. How was the money spent on image consultants, Glam Squad promotional shots, and even a line item called Reunion Episode Wardrobe? Indeed, it was purportedly utilized for reality TV stunts. She didn't mention it, but by this time, Chrissy seemed to be short-circuiting her clenched jaw, twitching fingers, and her lawyer leaned in and muttered something. "Since Cam has evidence and backups, I told you that if he speaks, we're done." The room went silent when I told Jim to turn it off, but he wouldn't listen. When Chrissy's attorney raised a privacy concern, the prosecution retaliated. Chrissy was seen in the video pacing in stilettos as though she had just received bad news in a pixelated hotel hallway in Miami. The video was accepted into evidence by the judge. Because Chrissy, the tough ride door-die woman's image, was already dissolving, leaving behind a picture of dishonesty, manipulation, and perhaps even fraud. The last dagger then materialized. C, a former VH1 production assistant. She was prepared to burn it all down, even though her voice sounded nervous. The jury flinched as she said, "I watched you threaten a senior editor, telling him once that if he aired that footage, he'd never work again." Chrissy dug her face into her palms, but C wasn't done yet. She claimed travel reimbursements for shootings that never happened and produced fake invoices. During one trip, which she referred to as script development, I was in Turks and Caicos. For her birthday, Cam sat in the gallery for it all, displaying no emotion or sneer. Like a man who no longer needed to speak because the truth was now being yelled over the courtroom speakers. In the meantime, Twitter was ablaze. Bloggers were live streaming on Instagram outside the courthouse, and among the vicious memes. One showed Chrissy crying and said, "When you bet the house on manipulation and it goes for closure." Another reality TV camera and a courtroom camera. The most up-to-the-side entrance of the courthouse as the drama reached its climax. Jim had vanished, leaving only shadows and a sweatshirt. Like a ghost returning to the scene, he quietly went past photographers and into the courtroom. His arms were folded and his lips were squeezed firmly as he sat behind Cam. "I just want the truth. I didn't know." Jim responded quietly and calmly in just 4 words when the court asked, "Would you like to speak?" Jim just left again after Chrissy got up and said something inaudible, and the video went viral, receiving thousands of tabloid reports and tens of thousands of reposts. Jim leaves Chrissy in utter stillness after a few minutes. Cameron ignited a full-scale wildfire instead of dropping bombs after Jim's final look. The court was not yet complete when yet another piece of evidence was presented, just when you thought the mayhem had reached its peak. This time, it was a time-stamped audio recording from just the previous year, featuring Mama Jones herself. "You believe that lady loves you because she enjoys control," which is a subtle yet important message. Before you lose both your money and your spirit, wake up. It's brutal, poetic, and to the point. To the point. Chrissy's collapse into her chair caused the courtroom to visibly freeze, but the judge didn't just nod in agreement. He issued an order because soon after that memo, prosecutors dropped the hammer and teamed up with federal officials to investigate Chrissy's financial history in greater detail. Yes, subpoenas were being sent out for previous production budgets, nonprofit filings, and years' worth of company records. If these allegations are true, we're talking about tax evasion, wire fraud, and possibly even RICO charges against her former business manager, who was formerly under federal investigation. With the empire burning behind him, Cameron got up, buttoned his blazer, and walked away without a last look or a word. But that wasn't the end of the story, boss, because Yandy Smith came on stage and talked aloud while everyone was riveted to every leak, video, and digital flame. New adversaries appear from ancient shadows where Yandy takes the stand. And Chrissy's carefully guarded house of cards is hit by an unstoppable wind because if you thought you were, Cameron's folder was the grand climax. The doors of the courthouse had just started to calm down when they suddenly swung open again. And Chrissy flinched when she saw Yandy Smith's name. Echoing baby hairs, she bounded through the front doors, without a back door, while holding the folder in one hand and using her Bluetooth in the other. Yandy glanced into one camera and said, "I had my say, and now it's my turn inside." Despite her expression being icy cold outside as reporters yelled her name and paparazzi scrambled cameras flashing like warning shots, Chrissy appeared broke, and the situation was already tense. After being sworn in, she was locked in, and the room fell silent as she spoke. She ignited the match after I remained silent for 10 years, out of respect. But now I speak to survive. Chrissy allegedly ran backstage throughout the 2013 and 2014 LHH seasons. According to Yandy, what does that signify? Pressure on editors, pressure on producers, threats, and bribes, all purportedly intended to change the story. I had a panic attack backstage at a reunion recording. She didn't mention that she was the one who notified my ex where I would be so he could corner me, even though I told production that I was being overly dramatic for screen time. Chrissy blinked once, then stared at the floor as though it would engulf her in the security footage. Yandy took out emails printed with the timestamp, but she wasn't even halfway through. Another Yandy's used to reply, "She'll survive. I won't, boss," but this wasn't drama. It was dark arts PR warfare. A real one from Chrissy to a showrunner said, "If I look bad, the whole show looks bad. Clean it up." Eventually, Yandy's legal team received the burner phone. During her time on the show, Chrissy allegedly used an outdated phone to talk to off-screen insiders. The texts contained hush money for backup cast chats, paid feuds, phony turmoil, and one that urged pay her. The courtroom trembled before the shocking development took place. As it turned out, Yandy and Cameron had been collaborating for months on more than simply note-sharing, establishing a digital forensic trail of all the dubious actions. Chrissy was said to have taken between 2011 and the present. With hashtags flying like confetti and strategic quiet and pure love, Twitter exploded again. No more blogs were posted side by side. She didn't clap back. "She held the whole thunderstorm for 10 years, wrote one user, while another, Yandy, took images of moments from Reddit's Marvel reveals. The prosecution released the last audio recording, which was forensically confirmed to be a 2019 tape of Chrissy speaking on the phone with a VH1 producer. Just when it appeared that Chrissy could take it no more, people's attention will be diverted if we reveal anything about Jim's depression. Jim came in court with his legal team by his side. No chains, no conversation, just weary eyes and legal documents. Just when everyone believed he had dipped for, Jim's mental health makes me appear like a saint again. When the court asked if he wanted to speak, he stood there staring at Chrissy and repeating, "I just want the record straight. I didn't know." The judge even inhaled deeply. 4 words. Chrissy crumbled. She stood and mouthed something toward him. "Maybe, please." He has taken every precaution to keep her safe because he wants to make sure that nothing involving him is brought up in court or during criminal investigations. Jim sent in a stack of documents, including property deeds, asset documentation, bank information, and a private letter describing years of alleged financial abuse and manipulation. That clip went everywhere. TikTok stitched it, Reels exploded, Twitter, and it was the quietest mic drop in TV scandal history. This court finds reasonable cause to initiate a criminal investigation into allegations of fraud, coercion, and sick speed, and financial misconduct, the judge said, slamming down the gavel. With immediate effect, Ms. Lampkin must give up management of all open business accounts and be prohibited from traveling. In hindsight, it wasn't love. It was survival for her, Chrissy just stared at the floor in quiet, not answering, not talking, not blinking. The voiceover, the ominous music, the grainy black and white film of Chrissy at invite-only events, and the reality that some women create their own legacy while others appropriate someone else's were all things they attempted to remove, but I managed to save it all. I don't know of any more outrageous, chaotic, and content-rich catastrophe in the history of businesses. Wrecked Chrissy and Jim's love story, locked down her image, and then, just when it looked like the narrative was finished, Mama Jones issued a trailer, yes, a real teaser for the opening line of a docu-series. That's all. The Chrissy and Jim saga didn't simply end. It exploded, and the fallout now belongs to T-Feds, DS bloggers, subpoenas, and a public that has no mercy left. Includes contrived stories, converted wire transfers, burner phones, and blackmail. Mona Scott is apparently selling Love and Lockup, The Lampkin Files, a love and hip-hop spinoff that is already popular in group chats. While the IRS is allegedly sniffing around, do you know who is supposed to narrate it? You're already on the jury if you're still watching. If you want to be the first to know about the next episode, click the subscribe button while your mouth is still hanging open. Was this ever love? Or was Chrissy just making everything up as she went along? One red carpet and phony proposal at a time? That is the true question. Is this really a resentful breakup masquerading as a Netflix drama? Or do you believe Jim was tricked and misled? What about the chess player with impeccable timing or the truth teller with receipts, Yandy? When the next leak happens, you don't want to hear it from the inside, so go ahead and turn on those notifications. This is more than just a scandal. It's a war. It involves receipts, involves reality TV that has been transformed into a confession in court. Be ready, be ruthless, and we'll see you in the next expose. What comes next?